Welcome back to Absolutely PlayStation and Steam Gamers. My name is Benny, that is Dylan, and today we're going to talk about Avengers versus Guardians. What Guardians does right and what Avengers does right. Because there are still pros on the Avengers side. There are still pros.
It's a tough.
They exist.
It's a tough spot for Avengers fans everywhere right now. To the point where, if anyone's curious, about the non-existence of the marketplace updates on this channel. That's a choice. I'm not being lazy. I don't really want to support the marketplace right now.
No,
especially giving it free advertising seemed a little like. Maybe not.
They're doing the XP token thing now, even though they said they wouldn't, and that's like, ugh.
Yeah, that's
okay. I had the theory. My theory was that they were going to normalize the use of these things and then sell them.
Right.
Like,
that's what they did.
So, but they did. They reduced XP, normalized it, and sold them. Exactly what I thought they were going to do. But this is not to talk about the latest controversy with Avengers, though we'll probably end up getting to that during this discussion. First off, Dylan, you were not in our original Guardians discussion. Do you like Guardians? We got to start there.
Man. So, for context, I haven't finished it yet, but last night I played through Chapter 3, so I literally just started Chapter 4, which is like 3 or 4 hours into the game. I love it. I'm having a really, really good time, and it's like, I'm still very early on in the game, but like, from, like, my main complaint from the trailers is that it didn't look visually very good. Like, it looked kind of weird, but playing it on my computer and, just like letting it actually, like seeing it in motion and everything, it looks like really, really nice. Like, not the like fake cutscenes, like when you have conversations with people that are just like auto-generated, those don't look great. But the actual ones that they took time to sculpt and I imagine mocap and everything, those look like, and I'm going to make this comparison a lot in this video, those look close to like God of War, like the 2018 God of War in terms of just quality. Like it's crazy the amount of emotion that like the range that these characters are showing.
It's really good. Comparison-wise, I looked at it as a not open-world version of Spider-Man. It's basically like, okay, what if you take a good Marvel character, just do a very linear storyline? My biggest complaint is there's so much banter, so much talking. Sometimes moving forward, it cuts it off to get to the next story beat. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, you put too much.
And that's like, that's another thing is there's so much personality in this game to the point where it's like, and I'm going to make the God of War comparison again. Like, they do a lot of fun things with dialogue. Like, people are always talking. One thing that I will knock it for is that, like, specifically with the God of War comparison, in God of War, if you interrupt, like, Mimir talking when he's on the boat, when you come back, or, like, after the story bit happens, he'll pick up where he left off. There's nothing like that here, and I think that is because it's not an open world, so that would be difficult to do. But, that's a problem with, like, every game that has dialogue. But a thing that I really love so far is the like constant like fourth wall breaks, but not really, where like if you go off on a like off the beaten path to go look for a secret or something, you'll get yelled at by the rest of the team. They'll just make fun of you. It's so fun. I love it.
I mean, I found a cave and Peter Krill's like, Duck, get in it. Like, where you going? He goes, I found a cave. Maybe it's got treasure. Like,
yep. And it did. It had a costume. It did.
Yeah. You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
It was a good time. Also, the costumes are great, which like, this is like a comic book game. Avengers obviously has costumes and everything. But like saying like it's a non-open world version of Marvel's Spider-Man PS4, that's a great way to describe it. I think it's like it's a cross between, it's so many games I was thinking of while playing it, which is good. That means like you have something slightly original, because I was thinking like the combat's sort of like Kingdom Hearts, the story and the way that the story is told is like God of War, same with like how the levels are laid out, but then you have like all the comic book flair that's like a bunch of comic book games with like Spider-Man for sure. It's just, there's a ton going on. I like it a lot.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. I'm super enjoying it, and it's a great game. Now, the question is, though, let's start with okay, so we got up to a comparison. One is a live service game that came out stupidly broken and still is not fully fixed to this day. And the other one's a linear game that did come out with bugs, but they've already got most of those on track. It's weird that it's literally the same publisher, hired by the same publisher to do this. And it's almost night and day how these came out. Now, Avengers does have a very strong storyline. It does a very good job with its storyline, I think. A lot of the cutscenes, a lot of the unique situations. I still remember going over the rooftops as Kamala Khan, or, being on the barbecue as Clint in his story segment. Does a great job with his story segments. But the live service gets in the way of the story. Well, in Guardians, it's just like I'm sitting down, I'm going to play an hour and just enjoy some plot and everything like that. They're not trying to shoehorn in that live service element. I'd say one of the biggest things I think that Guardians is great, but I think the biggest problem with Guardians versus Avengers, if you ignore bugs, because that's a whole nother argument in itself, is that when we're all done with Guardians in like 2 to 3 weeks, Guardians is done. You're going to put it on your shelf and it's gone. I got a buddy that unlocked every costume and he's like, done, deleted it. Like,
yeah. And that's like, that is a thought that I had because I knew we were going to do this video and I was trying to think of like, there are a lot of pros to a live service game and especially a live service Avengers game. And one of them is just like, when you love these characters so much, you want to go back and play them. You want an excuse to get in and, spend time with these characters. But I think it was smart the way that they did it because, like, obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy are very popular, but they're not as popular as the Avengers. So I think if they had made a live service Guardians of the Galaxy game and a single player Avengers game, people would have been a little more disappointed that they can't go back and play the Avengers constantly because they would want to more. But like, I'm fine with it also just because, I really, really like single player games, and just like, narrative driven stories. They're some of my favorite. I really like Avengers as like a game that I can jump in and just play and mess around with a bunch of different characters. It has its strengths there. Like its combat is solid. And the fact that I can't, like, even if it's not like there's no reason to, I can just jump in and play a mission if I want. Which again, there's no reason to right now, which is why I haven't played in like 2 months.
Right. I mean, that's a different argument in itself. Yeah. I mean, because people continue to like to compare like Spider-Man to Avengers. We just wanted Avengers to Spider-Man. And unless you're following the Insomniac Twitter, no one talks about the Spider-Man video game on a regular basis. And I think that's the problem that Guardians is going to have. I follow the Insomniac Twitter. They're always putting out pictures of Spider-Man. It's like, that's just like, guys, remember our game we made? But the amount, like, I talk to a lot of people on our Discord. I talk to a lot of people in real life about video games. No one brings up Spider-Man as like, oh man, I was just playing Spider-Man again. Like, I have it, and I've thought about it a few times. Like, man, I really want to go back and do the full remaster a third time, and I haven't. Instead, I end up getting on Avengers or Destiny or one of my live service games because it's like, I could go replay an old title, or I could do that. And I've played Spider-Man twice and Miles twice, so it's not like I haven't replayed them already. But now we're talking third, fourth playthroughs, fifth playthroughs, that kind of a thing. Yeah,
the most I will do with Spider-Man specifically is I will occasionally boot it up just to swing around, just because, I'll just swing around the open world because it's fun. But I've also occasionally just done that with Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube, so I think that's just a benefit of Spider-Man games.
I mean, they have and I get why people would want a Spider-Man style Avengers. I do. But Guardians is like, this is because all we had up to now was Avengers and Spider-Man as our examples. But now I'm curious how Guardians is going to stand the test of time.
Well, it's interesting because like there are so many games that I want to go back and replay because I remember enjoying them a lot, like God of War, like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, stuff like that. But then I start replaying them and I'm like, this is story driven, and there's not like I'd rather just, with games like that are very narrative based, I'd rather just watch a movie of them if I want to replay it, because like God of War has great combat, and Jedi Fallen Order does to an extent, but like there's only so many times you can like run through a game and collect all the collectibles and stuff. Like something I did actually replay that was narrative and story driven was Horizon Zero Dawn, and it kind of unfair because it's my favorite game, but also,
it's
like,
also
that's
open
an open world
though. Yeah, it's like open world, and that's the only reason I can see going back to Spider-Man, because of the random events that happen in the open world. But it turns into a progression argument. Like, are you going to replay? Are you going to replay Spider-Man for the 20th time, the 30th time, or just level up another character in Avengers you might end up using? Now, I know some people are against Avengers, but any other live service game.
Yeah. But I think it's fair to say that, like, from a replayability and like whatever the word I'm looking for is, from that standpoint, from a replayability standpoint, Avengers definitely like has that. But I don't know, like the story, and again, I think both of us are pretty early on in the game, but
yeah.
I had to convince myself multiple times that Avengers does have a good campaign, just because of how sour my opinion on it has been as of late. But like there are moments in the Avengers campaign that I look back on, and I just like character moments that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Like the one that always stands out to me from the Avengers campaign is when Tony and Cap are they just broke him out, and they're in the Quinjet looking down on Earth, and it's just like a quiet moment, and Tony turns to Cap and he's like, why did you blow it up? Like, why'd you kill everyone in San Francisco? And he just explains that that's not really what happened, and it's just like a nice moment, and it's cool to see like this. It's a culmination of good writing in that campaign of, like, you know, Steve Rogers is the man out of time again. He's in a spaceship looking down on Earth. It's just like another leap, and like he probably had been in space before, but it's cool to see that. And I think, but again, like those moments, from what I remember in the campaign, are not accompanied by a lot of fun gameplay. It's fun, but it's not like intertwined. It's not interwoven. Like
Guardians interweaves it very well.
Yes, it is an experience you're sitting down to play. Whereas Avengers is like, it's more like an MMO where you do the gameplay, and then now you look at the story, and they're completely separate things. But like with a game like Guardians, it's very interwoven, which I think,
and it's why Guardians like hooks you in. It feels like you're in the movie. Well, Avengers feels like there's a movie going on around it. Now, another point I want to bring up about this is, we're in a day and age where new games come out like every other week, and people are so quick to jump to the next hot thing.
Right.
We're still talking about Avengers. Will we be talking about Guardians in 6 months? We don't talk about Spider-Man on the regular. It's only being brought up today because it's part of this topic. We don't talk about Spider-Man. Like, when was the last time I spoke to you about Spider-Man, the game?
A while ago. Probably when we saw the trailer for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. And I feel like that because we're in a day and age where it's like next week Call of Duty's going to drop. And then they're going to drop another, right now on my PlayStation, I just beat Alan Wake. I got Fatal Frame. I got Tales of Arise. I got the Death Stranding remake. I got Riders Republic. They're all just loaded, ready to go. And I'm just like, oh, okay, beat one game. And Guardians is on there too. I'm like, what is next that God damn it. We're moving too quick in the world of gaming now. And I think that's part of the problem for a game like Guardians. And it also creates the argument for a lot of the companies to be like, whoa, narrative games don't sell. No, people don't talk about narrative games 3 weeks later. Very rarely do we get a God of War or a Spider-Man where it is continually brought up for years as an example of amazing game design.
Right.
But things like Avengers can be doing horrible and everyone's still talking about it. You know, like...
Yeah. I think
it's still in my feed.
Right. It just comes with the territory. I think... I don't know if we will be talking about it more. I think there's every chance that we hear more about this game in terms of a sequel or the characters making their way over to Avengers in some way. Who knows? I haven't finished the game. I doubt that there's anything that hints towards that, but same publisher. I don't think they've said anything. Avengers is...
I remember I was at the Guardians thing. Guardians is supposed to be separate. They're not relating it to anything.
Yeah, I do remember them saying separate, but like I don't think they've said anything. It's like it will never happen, and I don't want to like stoke rumor flames or whatever. But like I don't know, they could if they wanted to, because the design, the art style is very similar to the point where like the head of the Kree Sentry, I'm pretty sure they just asked Crystal Dynamics for that model.
Yeah,
and we're like, oh okay, yeah, here, because it looks identical.
It definitely can link in very easily, but since Guardians are off in space doing spacey stuff, it's easy to be like, but we don't have to reference it. It's problem solved.
Yeah.
If the game does well, it's in Avengers. If it doesn't, flash in the pan.
Yep. The DC methodology. I will say, well, like probably another point of comparison or versus point here is the gameplay. I think they both have their strengths, and I wouldn't want one for both, if that makes sense. Like I wouldn't want Guardians to have Avengers combat, and I wouldn't want Avengers to have Guardians combat. I think they both work very well for the game. I think everyone was kind of saying that it felt strange that you were only able to play as Star-Lord in this game, even though it's a Guardians of the Galaxy game. But like actually playing it doesn't bother you as much. At least it doesn't bother me at all.
No, because I feel like I'm Star-Lord ordering the Guardians around and then having them yell at me because it's fun. Like it feels what I'm trying to do in this.
Yeah. I think if anything, what they could have done, which probably would have been a little simpler to do, like I'm okay with like ordering them in combat, but like when you're doing like the puzzle sections and you have to like move a big thing as Drax or whatever, I think letting us have control over them while we do that stuff would have been interesting, instead of just because it's just a glorified UI like menu system basically during that.
Yeah.
And they have all the animations anyway, so I think that would have been like a layer of polish that would have been cool, that wouldn't have cost as much as like obviously designing full kits for every Guardian.
No, I mean I agree. I mean I don't know what that, you just
my train of thought
stopped.
Went away.
I was like, I mean I was listening. You didn't ask a question.
My brain just exploded. In that
I was like, am I supposed to chime in? No, you're right. All right, so, I agree. But yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. Avengers, I like the ability to swap between them, but I think this shows that you could have a team game and not give me the ability to swap. Like if we played Avengers and it was just Iron Man and I got to order everyone around, I probably would be okay with that. But you're right. I like the fact that Avengers lets you play everyone and Guardians kind of takes a different spin on it. It's like, what if you controlled them as opposed to being them?
I think again, this is like a fantasy thing that I was kind of like talking about earlier, where with a Guardians game, the fantasy of wanting to go in and do missions over and over again is not exactly there. Like that's not a thing in the comics. They usually have like a set thing that they're doing for that story arc. But the Avengers, that's kind of part of their shtick, is that they're constantly going on different missions. So that makes sense. And similar there with like the combat styles, like the Guardians of the Galaxy are a wholesale team. Like obviously there are separate books for each one and they all had histories before they came together. But for the most part, this Guardians of the Galaxy team is a team that just works as the Guardians of the Galaxy, while the Avengers is such a constant rotating cast, and always has been, of characters who traditionally don't sell books coming together. They have their own histories. Like if you made an Avengers game and you were only able to play as Iron Man, even though Captain America and like Black Widow and all these characters are there and you can't play as them, that would be more frustrating than if you made a Guardians game and you could only play as Star-Lord. So I think it works. That's all to say. I think it works.
Okay, I agree with you. I do. So I mean, at the end of the day, if you had to pick one type of game, I know I want both. I want the narratives and I want the live service.
Same.
And I even said that when Avengers came out. I said this is a game for people like me who want to keep playing the game over and over and over. And I'm not against getting a narrative, but I want both. I do. But if we had to pick one of them, which would you prefer?
I think
Let's assume Avengers is fully functional right now and great.
Yeah. I would say I prefer narrative, like just one experience that's curated and I can have a good time playing it. Just because there's so much more you can do there, and there's so much more like you can show off, and it's we talk a lot, especially on like this channel and especially over on Absolutely Marvel and DC, of like there just being too much media to consume, and the idea of something.
That's the problem with games. I have too many downloaded.
Right. Yeah, but like when you have, there's a difference between like right now I'm playing Final Fantasy 14 again, and it took me a while to accept that is just a never-ending game, and don't try to beat it. Like, don't try to beat any MMO, but especially not 14, because it's gonna take you forever. But that's like something with especially someone like me who likes to tick off boxes, it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to play this 30-hour game and then be done with it until the next one comes out or some DLC happens, instead of, I'm going to play this game that never ends. And then I'll never have time for anything else.
I mean, it's hilarious because that's the issue that I have with our buddy Shank on this channel. He wants to do everything in Destiny, and it's physically impossible. So it's like, oh, guys, I really want to play this other game with you, but hold on, I got to go run 5 hours of Destiny today. Cool, man. Never going to play other games with you, I think.
Yeah. And that, some people are totally comfortable, and I'm sure that, there are people in the comments who would prefer the live service model because they like sticking to one game and they like the consistency of that. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
But as someone who likes a lot of games. Yeah. Like I love just all different types of shit. Like I read comics, I watch movies, I watch TV shows. I'm getting back into a bunch of hobbies that I haven't been into lately. So like there's just a lot going on in this apartment. So it's nice to have something contained. But what about you?
Right.
Live service, narrative?
I think at the end of the day, I love the narrative games. I do. But I think I would prefer the live service. For exactly what you're saying, because for me, the live service games is a great, I'm burned out, I'm exhausted. Let me hop in a game that I know and I'm making progression, be it Destiny, Final Fantasy, Genshin or something. I already know how to play the game. I don't have to relearn anything. I don't have to start over, remember where the plot is. I can just jump in and play. And I like those kinds of games for when I'm brain dead and just want to, I'm doing Riders Republic right now, and I was half asleep yesterday, but I was playing Riders Republic because I'm like, I can make progression. You know what I mean? I'm half totally out of it, but I can make progression, and I don't have to follow along as to what's happening. So if I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably go with the live service. Once again, pretending Avengers has 0 bugs, it is functionally perfect right now, which it's not. That's a different argument. If I had to pick the broken Avengers versus Guardians, we're going Guardians.
Yeah, right now, the feelings I'm getting from playing Guardians is, as a comic book fan especially, is just... Avengers is just garbage compared to it. But again, that's right now. Back when it first came out, maybe different story. During the beta, getting excited for the story and everything. Like that maybe, first time playing the campaign, that's different. But again, that's not where we are right now. So.
No, we're not there. So I want to clarify that before someone's like, I just got stuck in the floor again and something despawned on me.
Yeah. For sure.
I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he's like, yeah, I'm just catching up on an event. Oh, this guy's stuck in the floor. I got to reset my checkpoint. God damn it.
But all right. You got to live with it.
Yeah. Well, we are absolutely PlayStation and Steam gamers. Make sure you join the Absolute Army by clicking like, subscribing to the channel, turning on notifications. Let us know your opinions down below. Pretending that Avengers is perfect, and so is Guardians. Which one?
Choose. No other option. Unless it's Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube.
Spider-Man 2 and why?
It's a good game, man. Play it.